Yo, what up gamers, Russ here. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to play Havoc Demon Hunter in a junkyard, and I'm going to do that by talking you through my own gameplay pack by pack and letting you in on my decision making process, you know, what went well, what didn't, and why I did the things I did. And I'm hoping by the end of this video that you're going to go away having learned a thing or two so that you can be that guy in your next run who's the one making plays. And I am playing the Gambler build, but with a bit of a twist. I'm actually playing with Trail of Ruin instead of my usual Glaive Tempest. The reason for that is I think Glaive Tempest kind of fell off a little bit without the buff from Encrypted. So if you haven't seen my video running down this build, I'll put a link to that down in the description. It's just called the Gambler build. I made it a few months back, caused a bit of controversy, but here we are, rocking it in Season 4. I'll put my talents and I'll put my soul binds and my gear and stuff all on screen for you now. So as the key counts down now, I'm going to be doing my usual tricks. At 5 seconds on the pull timer, I'm going to pop Immolation Aura, followed immediately by my Blood Elf Silence, and then an I-Beam into a meta. That's just going to give me a free Metamorphosis at the start. And what you should be doing in a junkyard, which I already made my first mistake, I took crit from the broker. In junkyard, you want to be taking haste. Now, in every other dungeon, you do want to take crit, but in this dungeon, you want to take haste. Now, the reason for that being is the shock bots. As you'll see in a second, I'm going to be running left at the top of this hill, and I'm going to go find my first shock bot. Most of your damage in this dungeon is going to come from these shock bots. So more importantly than executing your rotation perfectly, obviously that helps, but more importantly, it's going to be staying alive. So you really can't be greedy in this dungeon. A lot of the trash is very punishing. If you die, you're going to be losing your shock bot. There's another bot called a grease bot, and yeah, there's another one called a welding bot. The shock bot will just do a bunch of damage, like on hit effect. I think it's like a chain lightning. The grease bot just gives you a bunch of haste, so therefore procs the shock bot more. And the welding bot just, I think it increases your healing taken, makes you a bit more tanky. So once you get all three of those bots, you're going to be, you're going to be just doing a bunch of passive damage. You'll see my overall in this key gets very, very high towards the end. That is because of the shock bot. And I'll show my damage breakdown at the end of the ability that the shock bot does, which is called Zap. Now, I just said shock bot a ton of times while this trash pack was going on. In this trash pack, I'll kind of be talking about just all the different mobs, and you just have to remember the name of the mobs in each ability set, but you'll be seeing these scrap bots quite often. This scrap bot here does an occasional blade storm. On fortified, it's pretty much a straight one shot if you stand close to it, and then they will do a self-destruct as they die, as you can see right there. Just be watching out for that blade storm. It has a cast time. I've got a weak aura for it as well. I'll link my entire Mythic Plus Season 4 weak aura package in the description as well for you guys if you want to take my package. And that one will do a blade storm around it for a few seconds, every maybe 20 seconds, 15-20 seconds, something like that. And it also has a repair sometimes, which is just a normal kick. And then you've got these renormalizers in that pack, which is an important kick as well, called Shrink. And that one will just make you tiny. If you do get really, really tiny on one of those packs, you need to run away from the pack, because people around you, like teammates, can step on you because you're tiny, and they will crush you and probably kill you on a higher key. And again, that will lose your zap bots and shock bots and whatever, right? So you definitely want to be moving away, and your healer can just dispel it off you. Ideally, that cast doesn't go through in the first place, but if it does and you do get shrunk, just make sure you move away from your teammates. Now, as we come down into the pit here by Gunker, the first boss, there's these elementals, and there are these lurkers, and there's some monstrosities as well. Kind of talk through them all in this like segment, I guess. These elementals, as you just saw, they do this thing called slime wave, and that is where they just face a random direction of a random player, and they charge forward, knocking them back and doing a ton of damage. On fortified, this is pretty much a one shot if you get hit. Again, it's a very punishing dungeon. It's like pretty much all one shots. And again, you're going to be losing your shock bot and a lot of damage if you do die. Now, this key on the timer wise is pretty easy. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the easiest key in this entire season, so you can do it the highest, and that's because the shock bots scale with level of the key. So the zap ability is going to do more damage the higher the key, and it kind of just props up your damage, and overall you can actually have like pretty bad DPS, and as long as you'll stay alive with shock bots, you should time the key pretty easy. Like, I've seen so many like plus 25, plus 26s get 3-chested, so this one is pretty easy. So always just be thinking in the back of your head, I don't want to die right now, and don't play risky, because if you do pay the price, you're going to kick yourself and your entire group is going to be molding at you. because you just lost a bunch of bots, and there are only a limited amount in this dungeon. As you'll see, we kind of pick them up through this beginning segment. You'll see me run after various bots. I'll call out obviously when I do that. But yeah, you don't want to be taking risks here. Now, these monstrosity mobs here, they're going to do, as you've been seeing, like a big green swirly around them. That is a big green swirly that you obviously move out of. Here it is now. And as you look at the floor, it's like spreading this kind of like acid pool underneath the green swirly. That is the actual ability. The green swirly is just kind of like a telegraphed indicator for it. If you do step in that green kind of like acidy thing, you're going to get a disease on you, and it's really going to hurt. Even on Tyrannical last week, I got it a couple times and it pretty much one-shot me. Again, very punishing. So as soon as you see that green swirly, you have to move like immediately. You can't really be greedy. If you stay even for like 1 or 2 seconds, you're probably going to get the disease. Now, it's all well and good if you have, you know, like a priest or a monk or something that can dispel that. But I wouldn't rely on them, to be honest, because they might be doing other things. They might have had to dispel someone else or themselves. So just move out straight away. Other than that, the monstrosities don't really do anything. And yeah, we're just dealing with lurkers and elementals mostly. Elementals also have a slime bolt, which is just a, you know, targeted like bolt ability on the tank as usual. And the lurkers have like a 7 or 8 second stun. It's like a channeled stun. So if they do cast that one, you can interrupt that one with a kick, but you can also CC them if your kick's on cooldown or whatever. Here I'm going for the grease spot. That is the haste one. So it's going to prop me more zaps more often, which is just more damage. As you can see, my overall right now is like 31k, which is insane. And we're just going to be dealing with the same mobs again and again and again through this section. On top of, if you've seen, like, there's a couple mobs just called slime. I don't think they really do much. They just attack the tank, and as you kill them, as their health drops down, they kind of split into more mobs. So maybe they split at like 80, 60, 40, 20, etc. into like 2 extra mobs each time. Just be aware that those mobs are not going to have aggro on the tank as soon as they spawn. So just make sure that, you know, you're not going too ham with AoE straight away all the time as soon as they spawn. Otherwise, you might draw some aggro again, potentially dying. So just be careful for that. And yeah, down this section, we're pretty much just doing all the same stuff and killing any infiltrators that we can, that we find and stuff, because again, that's extra stats. So for me, that's crit. But if I took the correct buff, that being haste, then I would be getting more haste and more Zapbot procs. So I want to do another run of this where I actually take haste and see what kind of damage I can do, because my overall at the end of the dungeon was pretty nice, as you'll see as we go through it. So the reason that we've been taking these monstrosity mobs is to free these bots. As you can see, there's 3 little robots walking around the boss right now. This is Skunker, the first boss. This is the Bloodlust boss for sure. And basically what you want to be doing is pretty much, you can just stand inside the little circles around these robots for the entire time. What they're going to be doing is cleaning up the floor of all this green sludge, right? And there are 2 abilities that you really need to be standing in the bot. The first one, as you can see, he's like sucking in all the green pools. It's a coalesce. Oh, again, I have a weak aura that tells me to stand in the robot. You don't actually need to stand in the robot outside of those 2 abilities. Like these green swirlies that go on the ground, you can just dodge. If you do get hit by them, you'll take damage and you'll get stunned, encased in like goop, and your teammates will have to kill that goop off you. As you can see, one of the robots is actually in a goop right now to the left of my screen. So yeah, he's going to shoot out green sludge. You need to be in a robot for that one, and he's going to pull green sludge back in. You need to be in a robot for that one. Outside of that, you can stand wherever you want. But yeah, just be careful, because sometimes the bot that you're standing in, as you can see right here, also got gooped. So we needed to free the robot so it can carry on cleaning things, because if we hadn't freed it very quickly there, we would have probably got caught by this coalesce right there. So this one went pretty smoothly. This one I've seen as well, like this boss can go terribly. I've seen groups just not kill the gooped bots, and then they have no robot to clean up after them, and then they're kind of like left between a rock and a hard place, you know. So we will head over to the next trash now, and this is again just like more of those punishing scrap bots really. So as we walk towards the next boss, this is actually a different route to the one I usually do. But here we go for a triple scrap bot pull, which is kind of annoying. As you can see, there's a weak aura on the kind of like right side of my character saying run. That's every time one of them is doing a blade storm. So every time I see that weak aura, I'm just moving away, and I'm switching target to one that isn't blade storming, and I'm just looking for a kick, because if they get their cast off, they're going to repair, and then it's just more health to go through. These are good trash percentage, but they have a lot of health and they're very dangerous. So just be careful of these scrap bots. I've seen many melee players die to these, and it's, you know, it's just not worth the extra global cooldown or something that you're going to get by staying in, because if you lose those shock bots, you're going to really be kicking yourself, as I said. So we're just kind of moving down this little alleyway towards the Trog boss, which is a pretty easy boss as far as they go. Not really too much to it. I'll obviously talk through it when we get there. But yeah, this trash is like more on the same. We're just watching out for the scrap bots, and that's the most important thing down here. And then if you can, you want to be hitting these shamans. As you see, we all just got mass rooted there by a curse. And that could have gone very badly if we were mass rooted inside that infiltrator's frontal there. So if you can target the shaman, and you want to be interrupting the curse cast it does, and if the shaman's dead, you can just go on these grinders, which are just going to enrage and just kick the enrage really. You can do like, you can drop down your AoE stuns and things like that, but just make sure that you get that shaman curse, because that can be really dangerous, especially with a couple of the mobs we'll see in a second, the bullies, which will do like a frontal one shot. So if you do get rooted into that, then you're going to be messed up, right? So here you can see I target the shaman. I'm going to just put my thing on it. Stone Skin I interrupted, probably was the wrong one to interrupt. This is the one, the Crippling Hex. That's the one that you want to be actually interrupting. Luckily, we got the capacitor totem go down onto it. And then we have, yeah, not too much. These trash tosses, they don't really do much. They just throw a little orange swirly on the ground. So just watch out for that. Don't stand in orange swirlies, of course. I don't think they... Yeah, I think they actually throw trash at random allies as well. So they're one of those like kind of mobs that are untankable in a sense, that they're just going to throw stuff at random people. You know, maybe if you're fighting 3 trash toss and they all happen to RNG throw at you at the same time, that could be quite dangerous. So I'd probably put them at priority number 2 after the shaman, to be honest. We'll see that again with the blasters in the next boss room. But yeah, you generally want to, you know, focus those untankable mobs. For example, we saw something similar, you know, last season or for the most of Shadowlands with the Theatre of Pain. We had those Arabalests, which would just shoot random people and put the barbs in random people. Those ones are always really hard and need to be focused, because if they go on your DPS or your healer or something, you can quickly lose someone. And it completely wasn't the tank's fault, right? So here, just be really, really careful of the trash tosser things on the ground. I've seen that one-shot some people as well. And then obviously there's a scrap bot in there as well, so I'm always looking out for that. Just making sure I move away. It doesn't really need priority damage on the scrap bot, like they will get cleaved down. Just make sure you move away from the blades, Tom, yeah? Now I saw the tank run off real quick into the distance and pull these bullies, and I already knew what was going to happen. As you see, our Shami goes down right there. That's because the bullies, they do this frontal shockwave thing. I think it is literally called shockwave, and they fire it outwards at random people. Yeah, here they go. They're doing 2 at the same time right there. I don't think they can be stunned, so you literally have to sidestep it. And then they have an enrage cast, which you can just use a normal kick on. If they get that on, obviously they're going to do more damage. And then if they do a shockwave and you get hit by that, you're definitely dead. But yeah, you just want to be dodging the shockwave. It's pretty simple, to be honest. They usually sync up their cast as well, as you see there. And it goes for like a 30-yard range in a line. So because the tank kind of ran off before we finished killing the previous pack, they already started their cast, and I guess people weren't looking. I saw the tank run into the distance, so I was like, okay, there's gonna be shockwaves in just a second. So I already was looking over there. But as you can see, our Shami Waves, he went down to those at like max range, and he had to unk there and go pick up some more bots and things. Like I think he used an unk, and there's a bot in the cave close by, so he went on that. Now this is Gobblemak, the Trog boss, and pretty easy boss, to be honest. All you really need to know is when he does the kind of like cave-in mechanic, where he's going to kind of like sit in the middle and just slam his fist into the ground, and he's going to cause like this apparent ceiling to fall down, which there is no ceiling above us. You just want to blur that. It's just an AoE damage on the entire group. It does quite a lot of damage in high keys, especially on Tyrannical. But yeah, you just want to dodge the swirlies on the ground and blur, because that's unavoidable AoE damage. And then completely ignore the ads. Don't even bother trying to pad on the ads. As you can see, I'm getting insane dark glare RNG right there. And then as you can see, he did like a smash on the tank, like a blue swirly. The idea is you want to share the damage of that smash, and it's also going to leave a debuff on you, which means you're like electrified. And you can see these pillars around the room, which is zapping these trogs. We've lit them up, so as you saw, I kind of vengeful retreated out. I used my debuff on a pillar, and it kills all the ads for you. So don't even worry about the ads. Just make sure you soak the smash, and there's 4 pylons, as you can see around the room, and 1 robot. Usually I think the tank goes for the robot, and then everyone else just chooses a pylon and go to the same pylon every single time. If you light about 3 or 4 pylons, you're going to be good, and then the robot does most of the work. It just flies around the room blade storming, and that's friendly, and will just kill everything for you. So just make sure you soak the tank smash, and then run over to a pylon. I know you have to stop DPS for like 2 seconds, but if you're a demon hunter like me, you can just vengeful retreat over there and fel rush back, or fel rush over there and vengeful retreat back, something like that. And you should be all good. You can get back on the boss pretty quick. It's quite reasonable, to be honest. And now you can see we have come over to the 3rd boss. This dungeon is actually quite short. The 3rd boss as well is a complete joke. This one we're about to do, Trixie and Nino. Just on the trash around here, focus the blasters. They're again untankable mobs, which is going to shoot random people. On the dogs, the scrap hounds, make sure it's quite a badly telegraphed ability, to be honest. It's like, it looks like a shimmering kind of like starry line. I think it's a terrible telegraph, but it's quite hard to see. But make sure that on those ones, you just move out of those. They're going to fire like a bolt forward, similar to the bots towards the end of the workshop dungeon. And then here we're fighting Zolgamuks with 2 blasters. So I'm kind of on Zolgamuks, but I also want to put some damage on the blasters when I can. I'm definitely going to focus Zolgamuks during the blood shield, hopefully in a second. Yeah, there we go, I switched. And make sure we kick that one, and then I'm going to try and go back on the blasters, because again, that's like unavoidable damage. If we have 2 blasters shooting people during a blood shield, especially on a high key, that's probably going to hurt quite quickly. So just kind of cleaving stuff right now. The blasters are going down pretty soon, so we might as well just get some free cleave on them. And then when it's Shadow Eruption, I'm obviously going to move out and attack something else, right? Actually, I went for an I-beam right there. But yeah, Zolgamuks, pretty simple to deal with. Focus during the blood siphon, and kick that as soon as you break the shield as well. And then just move out of the Shadow Eruption on the ground. If you see a bat casting, then chuck a Fel Eruption on it, or an Imprison or something. And yeah, this boss is pretty easy. There's a lot of robots in this room as well. If you haven't got all your robots at that point, you can just pick them up in here. So this boss, pretty easy. You want to be focusing the ranged woman at first, and you see that bike just charged across the room. So you want to be on Taser, or Trixie Taser, or whatever she's called. Yeah, Trixie Taser. Interrupt rotation here is pretty strong. If that Tase goes through, it's going to leave quite a long debuff on someone. I took aggro here, so I had to switch. But you want to be kicking the Tase and dodging two hits of that, what's it called? He's on his bike and he'll just charge through. You can see which direction he's going to go, because he will just go straight forward. So you want to look which way his bike is facing, and then you just want to move out of that. And sometimes it's safer just to wait a second. Once he's chosen his direction, it takes about 5 seconds until he charges. So if he's chosen that, but you saw like at the start of the boss fight, she kind of like jumped away, Taser did. You want to just wait for him to do his charge and then cross the road, or you might get caught out. And you want to be killing these guys at the same time. Otherwise, well, if you kill one, the other one will kind of enrage. And they died so quick that I didn't have time to talk through all the mechanics. There is a Mega Tase. If you get the Mega Tase, you run into the smoke cloud. You saw me standing at smoke cloud halfway through that. You might have to rewind, because I literally didn't have enough time to explain it. They died so quick. And there's one last mechanic, just a frontal on the dude. So when the dude, he does 2 charges on his bike, and then he will dismount from his bike and come join the fight. At that point, you usually switch to him to even out the HP pools, and just make sure you're not standing in front of him or on the tank or whatever, because yeah, if he gets that, he'll do a frontal, and if you're standing in that, it is 100% a straight one shot. So really be watching out for that one. Now we're just going on to more of the same mobs, really, blasters and infiltrators. You'll see around this room, we actually skipped them this run, but there are 2 kind of like big spider mech looking things. They're not too dangerous. They will choose a random target and just fire at them, which does quite a lot of damage. Actually, they are quite dangerous. That's probably why we skipped them. And then they'll also do this like shock coil thing, where they do an AoE onto the whole group. If that does go off, the crawlers you see in the top right corner of my screen right there, If that does go off, then you probably want to be stacked up, and you can throw darkness on one of those. And if you get a second one, probably blur it, yeah. So just be careful if you do pull those crawlers, or you're with a tank that does pull those crawlers, that you want to throw your darkness down on one of the debuff casts, like it's like called shock coil or something, or just do an AoE to everyone. And if you get another one, blur it, or you can nether walk it if you're in danger or something. And we went for these dogs here, which don't really do that much. I think they might jump on random people. Feels like they tone them down a little bit from BFA, because in BFA I feel like these dogs just one-shot people straight up, and you never played them because they were really bad to play. But here we actually went for them just so we could get another infiltrator, because that's more stats. And then we will see the last pack. Like, as you can see, we have 17 minutes left right now in a 22, and we're, you know, almost 3 chesting this, and we're pretty much done. We got like 2 more packs to go, or 3 more packs to go after this, and then we're done with trash. And the last boss is pretty quick because obviously it's not tyrannical. So we got 14% more. So usually you just pull all this trash up here. Doesn't really do too much. Again, here's the renormalizers, so make sure you're on the renormalizers. Kick the shrink as I did just there. And yeah, like sometimes tanks just pull all of this, like 20 mobs, and it's a big AoE fest, and it's really fun. I would have loved for that to happen, because I just popped my meta on like 3 mobs. If you'd have pulled the entire thing, I had obviously meta to go on everything. That would have been big damage for me. But you only can really do what the tank allows, right? So we only pulled like 1 little pack, and then we went up for this cavalry pack up here. Now, again, same kind of mobs, troopers, coil bearers. You can just kick the coil bearers if you need. There's a renormalizer in there. Just watch out for this cavalry mob. Is the most dangerous of the pack. As you can see, it did a charge where it charges away, and then it immediately does this rapid fire Gatling gun thing, where it will just spin 180 either left or right. So it will charge, then it will look at you, and then it will do a rapid fire, and it will spin 180 degrees left or right. So you can kind of stand behind it and just not get hit by that. Usually you see there, like, it got baited the charge out of range, so we could stay on the pack. I wasn't really sure the range of the charge, the rapid fire, sorry, so I went over to it. But yeah, as you can see here, I'm just kind of walking behind it. That rapid fire will kill you in like 1 hit if you go for it. I don't think you can even like walk through it to the other side, so you've dodged it. You actually have to walk all the way around. That one does really hurt, so watch out for the cavalry. You have been warned. Yeah, the charge and then rapid fire is always in that order. Just keep an eye on it. You don't really need to focus it down, because it basically does nothing if you dodge that. It's all avoidable damage. But yeah, just really keep an eye on it. And then we missed a little bit percentage here, so rip my meta again. You know, like I could have thrown it on all those mobs if he double pulled, but yeah, we just went for a prowler, renormalizer, and trooper pack. So hitting that renormalizer once again, making sure you can interrupt the enlarge, which will buff the renormalizer, or the shrink, which will obviously shrink people. I think the shrink is more dangerous because that has a risk of a teammate dying. If he just enrages, it doesn't really do much, right? I'm pretty sure you can just purge it off as well with the DH purge. So not really a big deal if that cuss goes through. Just definitely try and get the shrink though. So as we head into the final boss, there's a lot to talk about. This guy is going to absolutely melt because it's a fortified, and we all have shock bots. But yeah, there's a first phase where we fight this Tank Buster Mark 1. Just watch out for those swirlies in the middle. It's going to shoot a big beam. There's like an aerial spaceship flying around above us trying to shoot us. Watch out for the debuffs. As you can see, the priest has got one. It's called the fulminating zap. Now our chamois has got one. If you get that on you, just pop a defensive, pop a blur. You might have to use a health potion or a health stone or something like that if you're going low. And then watch out for those little robots that are going to be walking around. So just stun them when they get close. And here you can see I'm doing a little double jump fell rush. Now to do that, I'm looking at the, my destination where the fell rush is, making sure that these, as you can see under the grids, it's like lighting up a little lightning kind of thing. You don't want to get stunned by that, so I'm waiting for that to cast, and then I'm doing a double jump fell rush. I don't know why I got sent down there, because I definitely walked around that robot. Even watching it back like 3 times, I'm definitely not standing in the little red ring. And then you want to click on the pylon, right click it to channel. Then I also left click it to target it. You can target it the overcharge station, as you can see if you want to go back and check. You can see its energy bar. When that is getting down to about 10, 12-ish, I purposefully walk into a robot to get sent down to the start, so I have less distance to travel when the intermission phase is complete. So usually the DPS will go down and the tank and healer will finish off the charging the station or decharging the station, so the DPS can be in position ready to go on the boss. For this like burn phase that he does here, you do 200% increased damage, so save all your cooldowns for that. Sometimes you will need to send a couple cooldowns in phase 1, especially on higher keys and tyrannical, but yeah, do as much damage as you can in that 200% damage window. And again, if you have shock bots, he's just going to completely melt. So right now most keys are just one phasing this. If you don't kill him in that 200% increased damage phase, then you'll have to go back to phase 1 and kill the tank buster again, and then do the intermission again. And if that happens, it will alternate sides. So we went on the left side there. If we'd have got that again, it would have been on the right side, and back and forth and back and forth. And it's just a repeating fight like that. So yeah, you just want to double jump, fell rush over, but make sure you don't go into the little red circles on those mini robots walking down the hill. And look at those grids for the electricity thing, because that will stun you and do a ton of damage. I've seen a lot of people die in that intermission phase as well. We timed the key with a +2. I got a nice little weapon out of it. As you can see here on screen, my damage breakdown zap is topping the entire damage, and I didn't even take the haste buff from the shrouded affix. So Sinful Brand doing work. Again, I'm playing the First Blood build right here, so Death Sweep is really high on my damage. Playing First Blood with Trail of Ruin, as you saw at the start of the video with the talents and things. And yeah, that's just Death Sweeping on cooldown. Again, if you want to see a video on that build, then check out my other videos on the channel, and in the description down below is called the Gambler build. And yeah, that's Junkyard. Pretty simple. Even in a +22, it went down so easily. I think this key probably starts getting hard around like 27 maybe, so you should have a pretty free key as long as you know to stay alive. If you're interested in any other content on my channel, then make sure you do check out my other commentaries and any kind of educational guides I have. All right, have a great day. I'll see you in the next one, and as always, peace.